I'm waiting on some parts to show up for the current project that I've embarked with on the Blazer, which is pulling all of the factory harness, PCM, TAC module out and replacing it with a Holley system. This is the Holley Terminator Max that I'm going to be installing. This is my new PCM. I pulled everything out. I'm waiting on an intake. I'm waiting on various small parts and sensors. And so I thought I'd take the opportunity to go through why I'm doing this, why I think this is such a huge opportunity for the LS swap market, and what I hope to accomplish from it. So first and foremost, brass tacks, what I have in my truck, or what I had in my truck, is an LQ9, a 6-liter LQ9. When I dropped it in, I upgraded the valve springs to LS6 valve springs. I dropped a Trailblazer SS intake. That got me the Trailblazer SS intake, which happens to be one of the best flowing, torqueiest truck intakes on the market. It also came with bigger injectors and a larger throttle body. But it did not give me the ability to do any upgrades or modifications, as I didn't have access to the PCM. I couldn't get in here to do any changes to the tune. Not only that, I didn't know how to do any changes to the tune. I don't have a license with HP Tuners or EFI Live. I'm not really that competent that I could do a good job on it without spending a tremendous amount of time really learning it. So I was kind of bound to the system I had, which was fine. The truck has been incredibly reliable. It's never given me any issues, and it had plenty of power. But I wanted to do some cool stuff. I wanted to put a cam in it. I wanted to bump up the power. And I knew that to do that, I needed to either learn how to do the tuning on here, or I could go to a Holley setup that will give me access to this through a PC software that I've loaded onto this laptop that will allow me to enter the parameters for the cam, set the PCM in a learning mode so it will constantly take readings and meterings and learn how my driving is, learn how the air-fuel ratio works, learn how the timing works best, and make changes and accommodations so the tune will just keep getting better and better. So that is the first obvious draw to this guy. It also solves a bunch of packaging issues for me. You see, this one system is going to give me drive-by-wire, it's going to give me control for the engine, and it's also going to give me my transmission control. So instead of having 2 or 3 separate controllers, this is my TAC module, here's my PCM, it's all self-contained in this one unit. The other ability it gives you is it's a brand new system. You're not relying on a junkyard computer to run your engine. You're not relying on a junkyard harness to run your engine. You do have options out there to get new PCMs and get new harnesses, but once you start doing that, you're into the same price range as this is already without any of the features and benefits that this comes with. So if you are starting an LS swap, if you're going to be putting an LS into a different vehicle other than what it came with, this needs to be on your list. Unless you are a guru with HP Tuners or EFI Live, I don't understand why you wouldn't use the Holley system. Now, I understand that there's differing levels of skill, and I'm still down here on the skill level, but this, you can grow with it, and if this isn't big enough for you, go to the Dominator setup that will give you more input, output, and more control than you can ever imagine. So I'm really excited to bring this product to you guys. I'm very grateful to Holley for partnering with me and sending me this stuff so I can share it with you. I've taken the opportunity to replace my cam. This is my cam out of my truck. This is a LS or LQ9 truck cam. This was a good cam, but I was able to put a Summit Stage 2 cam into the truck, give me a little bit more power, give me that sweet low P idle that we all look for, and give me a little bit more mid-range and top-end power. By changing out the cam, I have changed all of the timing and air-fuel ratios and all that. Historically, that would require a call to my tuner and forking over several $100s for him to make my tune work with my new setup. And then I was locked in again. With the setup now, I enter through this touchscreen, I enter the parameters of the cam, put this guy into learning mode, and it will accommodate and start creating all the tables and all the fuel curves and all the air density things that I need to make it, to maximize the cam that I've got in there. So enough about that. The computer itself, I'll be doing more videos on because it substantially improves your user experience, in my opinion. But the other benefit is I get to put a new harness in. I get to put a harness that is, it's a custom harness designed by Holley. Yeah, it's a one-size-fits-all kind of thing, but it's a brand new harness. It costs less than what I paid for my first harness, which is amazing in itself. And a lot of the relays, a lot of the fuses are all incorporated into this guy now, or the harness itself. So it's going to be streamlining and cleaning up my engine bay and reducing clutter, and that is always something that I'm looking to do. Between this and my Switch Pros, which I'll link a video up here for Switch Pros. That's the solid state switching system that I use for all my lighting, my lockers, my fans, everything. I can run input-outputs from here to trigger my fans on my solid-state Switch Pros device. No more need for fuses, no more need for relays, no more need for any of that stuff. One wire energizes, one wire sends the signal, and we're gold. I decided to get some new coil packs. Coils go bad. Getting a nice, clean, fat spark is the job of the coils. And they're red, so they're going to match all the stuff in my truck that I'm putting in. That's going to be red, which is internet points right there. So I've got my 8 coils. I've got the new high-flow injectors from Holley. These are 48-pound injectors compared to differing flow rates. I think this is a 32-pound. And this is a 48-pound. So the amount of fuel, I don't need to worry about fuel starvation or any issues like that. I'm going to be using the same throttle body that came on the Trailblazer SS intake. This is a 90mm intake, so it's a big bore intake already compared to the 78 or 72mm that come stock. I'm also going to swap out the intake and go to one of the Holley mid-rise intakes because they look awesome, and I can't wait to put it on my truck. First and foremost, you're going to run one O2 sensor. This sensor, the job of an O2 sensor is to basically determine through magic, actually is electricity, how much fuel is left in the air that's exiting through the exhaust. The more fuel that's in there, you're running too rich, it's too hot, the computer will pull back the fuel. In addition to that, you have let's find it. This is a MAP sensor. This is my manifold absolute pressure. Now, in most configurations, you're going to find that this is replacing a mass airflow. The mass airflow generally lives in the in the intake tube and measures the airflow coming in. This will measure the pressure and density inside the manifold. So 2 different systems, same idea what they're trying to do. This guy and my O2 sensor talk to each other. This knows the density of the air coming in. This knows the density of the air going out. It can therefore determine, I put too much fuel in, I didn't put enough fuel in. And with the cam position sensor and crank position sensor, it's therefore going to be able to determine the timing and how it needs to adjust and correspondingly change that. So that's the sensors. Now, obviously, you're going to have a coolant temp sensor. You're going to have a crank position sensor. You're going to have all your coils are going to be wired, but it's really not that complicated. And the fact that you have a pre-made harness that comes with all the good stuff on it already is huge. So this is the Holley Terminator Max harness. I've started going through it and identifying exactly which wires need to go where. So when I plug it into the truck, it's just going to be a plug and play. So I've got my 12-volt battery ground. I've got my fuel pump. I've got up here what I have. This is all the injector harness. So that will go to my injectors. I've got this is my coil harness. So this will connect up to this guy right here, and then each one of these will plug into this. And then in addition to that on the harness, you're also going to have all of your coolant temp sense, your crank position sensor, and NOx sensors, although I've deleted those, and all the sensors that you need to run the truck. You also get an input-output that is going to give you control for fans or turbo timers or whatever else you want to put on there. Any 0 to 5 volt you can run through this guy. And then it gets really dope because you can connect this either or to this guy, which is the little programmable hand unit that comes with the harness and the PCM, or you can do what I'm doing, which is drop a Holley 12.3-inch touchscreen that will directly connect to this CAN bus right here, giving me full visibility into all of the sensors. All 270 plus sensors that this thing can read, I'm now going to be able to see represented on my dash. It's kind of what I've dreamed about for a while. I've always wondered why I couldn't just use an OBD reader that sends all the OBD signals to a screen to give me my tach, my water temperature, my oil pressure, because it's monitoring those already. This is going to help in the fact that on a gauge like that, well, that's my clock. Let's find a... Okay, here's my transmission temperature gauge. I love these autometer gauges. I love the analog appearance. This is the gauge that I lusted after when I was in high school because it was just what all the hot rods had, and I've always loved them. But on the back, you've got a power switch, you've got a source switch, connection, you've got connections for a ground, you then have 2 more connections coming in here for the illumination. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wires coming off the back of this, and that's just for your transmission temperature. If you want to run radiator or coolant temp and all the others, you can see how that wiring just starts to grow and grow. I've actually got a bunch of old harnesses around here that I built when I dropped those in, and it's worked great, but it led to a ton of areas that were potential fail points, either for a short or coming loose, and I just wanted to eliminate all that. And so going to one connection right here, it's actually this guy right here. This plugs into the back of the screen, this plugs into the harness, full visibility as to what's going on with my truck. I can do data logging, I can do replays, so I can see what's going on with the engine, and if it's giving me problems, I can go back and look and see what the sensors are reading. Huge potential for upgrades and visibility and tuning on my engine. So that's all the harness stuff. I've got all the ancillary parts over here. So I've got my, this is the transmission harness. I've got the main power harness. And then I've got a bunch of other stuff that I'm getting back together so I can start putting the truck back into to work mode. This is going to be a game changer. I really can't understate what this presents over the old school style. There's a lot of cool stuff yet to come. If you are not a subscriber to my channel, why the heck not? Doesn't cost you a thing, and I upload videos sometimes twice a week full of good information like this. So click that subscribe button, click that like button, and go check out these other videos of mine. We'll see you soon. Merricks Garage.